When I first got here.
Okay, I'll see y'all later.
All right.
You all right?
She had a conference call. Oh. You want to pick up the one or you want me to turn it off?
Good morning. This is Judy Hearn from Midwest Business Group on Health. I am serving as the Director of Membership Initiatives for them, and assisting me in the webinar today is Christine Evans, our office administrator. I am hearing some background noise, so if you are not one of the speakers today, please mute your phone so that we are able to hear everyone appropriately. We expect a large number of participants today, so we will be using the chat feature of the Zoom tool for all questions. So at any point when you think of a question, go ahead and add it in the chat feature. You can submit that to Christina Evans, who is assisting me today, because I will not be watching the chat feature while I conduct the webinar. So again, if you have any questions in the chat box, you can either send it to everyone or send it to Christina Evans. So we will be muting all participants as you log in, and I've got the agenda up on the share right now. So let's go ahead and go on to our next one. So I just introduced myself, so I won't take any more time, but let me first introduce then Tara Sherman from the Boeing Company, member of the Health and Wellbeing Strategy team. She's actually joining us today from the lovely city of Seattle, Washington, and doing benefit fairs out there. So we appreciate Tara being up early and helping us out today. Tara?
No, I really don't want to be able to get to it.
Yeah, again, if you can please mute your phone. Next, I want to introduce Sarah Downs, who is the Program Manager for WellSpark Health Programs, and Sarah will be speaking to us about their diabetes prevention program, along with Ron McClellan, who's from the Connecticut State Service. And Ron was instrumental in helping to bring the diabetes prevention program to the workers there who do the driving and the paving and all kinds of wonderful things there. So we're excited to have both Ron and Sarah. So you get to hear not only some information about the Midwest Business Group on Health Diabetes Toolkit, but we're bringing you 2 case studies from employers that I think you'll really like. So just a little bit more about the Midwest Business Group on Health. You have about 120 members represented by mid, large, and jumbo employers. We also include coalitions, hospitals, health plans, and a wide variety of manufacturers and other vendors. But we focus on our employer members and what they need to know about healthcare so that they can spend wisely and help reduce waste, abuse, and misuse of healthcare services that will take care of all of us when we do that. So just a couple upcoming events.
Yeah.
June 12th, Midwest Business Group on Health is presenting our employer forum on pharmacy benefits and specialty drugs, with a special focus on oncology and genomic medicine. That is open to everyone, so you're welcome to check that out on our website and enroll or come in person or participate by webinar. In conjunction with today's program, which is funded by the Illinois Department of Public Health, through a grant from the CDC, we are pleased to offer an in-person program on June 25th in Carterville, Illinois, which is way south in Illinois, a few hours beyond St. Louis. And we will be presenting a workshop where we'll go through the diabetes toolkit, and we will also have some presentations about obesity and how that leads to diabetes and other DPP and diabetes management programs. So anyone is welcome to join us for that program as well. There is no cost for that particular program. So I mentioned a moment ago that this webinar is being brought to you by a CDC-funded grant from the Illinois Department of Public Health to the Midwest Business Group on Health, and we're very pleased to do that. Again, our focus is to create awareness about diabetes and the diabetes prevention program, especially for employers. We make our toolkits free on our website to all people who want to come to mbgh.org, and that is provided at no cost to any employers or employer coalitions across the country. So let's talk a little bit about diabetes and why employers need to care about that. The fast facts here show that 30.3 million people have diabetes, just under 10% of the US population. Not everyone is diagnosed, and I think that's what concerns us. 1 out of 3 people walking around has diabetes, and they may not know it. So we are very interested in providing information about prediabetes to people so that they can understand what their risks are, and hopefully to prevent them from going further on that track and actually developing diabetes. So interesting that 33.9% of the adult US population has prediabetes, and those who are 65 and older, 23.1 million adults. So our lifestyle, our environment, and sometimes our genes are what help us get to that path. So we'll give you some additional information on that. The interesting thing is there are definitely health disparities in diabetes. So those who have differences in their health status or access to health care, it impacts people among both racial, ethnic, geographic, and socioeconomic groups. And that's what's referred to as health disparities. So the charts that I have up here show 5 different ethnic groups and the percentage within each of those ethnic groups of those adults age 18 and older with diagnosed diabetes. So you can see that the American Indian or Alaskan Native by far has that greater propensity, followed by Hispanic, Black, non-Hispanic, and Asian, and then the white non-Hispanic. So very interesting to see that. Let's go on now and look at education level, because that's another factor in health disparities. So it appears those who have the less education, particularly those who don't even complete high school, have the greater percentage, well beyond the national average. And even those who have more than high school education still aren't free from being at risk. So we want to make sure that we let everyone know about what they can do to prevent diabetes. And when I say prevent diabetes, I'm specifically speaking about type 2 diabetes, because those who have type 1, you either get it or you don't. It tends to be part of your heritage, unfortunately. So I'm going to go in now to talking about the toolkit and showing you first the information on how to access the toolkit. And I'm going to switch my share so that we can actually go in and look. This is the MBGH website. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger for you so you can see that I will go up here to resources, and then I'm going into employer toolkits. We have a number of toolkits, and the diabetes is just one of them. So here we go with the diabetes management in the workplace. You can see the different things that employers are using the toolkit for to understand economic impact, determine what data is available, how to get it from their health plans. We have management support on creating a business case, viewing employer case studies, and creating action plans with educational and messaging gaps for diabetes management in the workplace. So one of the things I want to do is actually show you a video. I'm going to click on this, and hopefully all will go well.
Nothing to do with eating
Here we go.
carbs or sugar. Recently, a doctor from Arizona has uncovered a beta cell secret for fighting the real cause of high blood sugar and diminishing diabetes.
Sorry.
Not seeing the website.
Oh,
We're not seeing Judy's screen share anymore.
We're
that's
not
odd.
seeing the website.
I'm going to try something else here. I'm going to go into a different video. Let's see if people can see this. There is no sound other than music. You can't see it?
Nothing but your desktop before going online.
You're not seeing my
It
desktop?
doesn't look like it's nothing but your desktop before going online.
Oh.
Nope, can hear the music, but can't see the video.
Oh, here we go. You see it now.
Ask the question. There it is.
Okay.
That worked. 5 minutes and 9:15. You have 10 minutes left.
Okay,
Just so you know.
great. Okay, thank you for indulging me. I just want to make sure, can everyone see the website view?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so this is the home page for the Diabetes Management in the Workplace Toolkit. And as you can see here, I'll make this just a little bit bigger for you. There are 6 different sections of the toolkit. And each one gives you a perspective of what you will find inside. So building the business case, particularly for smaller or mid-sized employers, they may need to create a business case for their executive team when seeking approval to either add or expand with a pre-diabetes or a diabetes management program. So this section in particular gives you questions to ask and access to resources such as the CDC or Center for Disease Control Diabetes Prevention Impact Toolkit, in which the employer can input information to calculate the probability of diabetes within their workforce. So I'm just going to click on one of these. Each of these are actual links.
Sarah is a human resource benefits manager who wants to help employees with diabetes.
Oops.
Like most employers in the United States, she realizes that
All right, let me do something here and get rid of some things so you don't hear any background noise from me. Okay. So one thing I want everyone to see is this multicolored thing across the top, which we call our hot dog. And you can jump from one place within the toolkit. Right now we're within the business case. If you want to go into program strategies, you can just click right there and then you're in that new section. And within each section, we're giving you information about different areas of things that you can do. So if you want to learn more about identifying your target population, that gives you information and a nice handy chart on what things that you can consider, what to look for, issues to note, and then data and what you might want to collect. Again, if I want to go back to the home and see, well, what else is here? Maybe I want to look at plan design approaches, and I want to see more about using value-based benefit design and strategies. And then I jump very quickly to that, and I can see additional information about designing incentives and how that may work, challenges to prepare for, actions to take. Also, here at the bottom, you'll notice we want to hear from you. At any point in time, as you're going through the toolkit, you can click on that Take Our Survey and give us feedback. If you see something that is missing, or you have a case study that you want to have added to this, and I know I'm going to be asking both Tara and our folks from WellSpark if we can add their case studies into our toolkit. That would be ideal. So anytime you have information that you think ought to be included in this toolkit, it is a living, breathing document, and we want to make sure that we do that. So we have a communication section. Within here, there are tools and templates We've created some customizable tools for you, and then links. The video that I showed is something that we had created ideally for an employer to use in their workspace, for those who might have TV-like signboards in their cafeterias or break rooms. We provide these videos at no cost to any organization that wishes to utilize them. We also have a video that I don't have time to show today, but it's on the Toolkit website as well, for something that you might want to share with your C-suite if you are trying to put a program in place, and it gives the executives a perspective about why diabetes control and management and pre-diabetes management is so important. The last two sections I want to call your attention to is evaluation, which helps you understand how you might want to measure the programs that you have in place so that you can demonstrate value to your organization. And then finally, the resources section. We list within each section of the toolkit all of the references that were noted, and we put them all in one easy to find place. So you have all the links and specific references that are noted throughout the document. So I'm going to go back now to our presentation, and we're going to move forward. Please confirm that you can see this. I'd mentioned our survey tool feedback, and we are ready for, I think I'm going to save questions on the toolkit till the end, but I think in the interest of time, we will go ahead and turn this over to Tara Sherman. Let's make sure Tara's.
Here I am. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, Tara. Just let me know when you want to go forward with the slides.
Okay, you can go ahead to move to one. Good morning, everybody. As Judy mentioned, I'm West Coast today for a benefits fair, so I'm really glad we're not on camera because 3 a.m. does not look great on me. But anyway, so good morning. Hope you're having a great day. And I'm really happy to be able to share a part of our well-being program, and specifically some of our work on diabetes prevention. I know that our focus today is diabetes prevention programs, but we did something a little bit different. We chose to integrate a diabetes prevention based program into our weight management strategy. So I'd like to set the stage here first with several components of that strategy. We want to make sure that our employees have support all across the continuum of care. So if you look at the different colored boxes here, we start with individual virtual resources such as Omada, which I'm going to speak more about in detail. We also want to make sure that we have behavioral health integration. So we make sure that that's a part of any weight management or diabetes prevention programs that we bring in. Our obesity programming is more on the clinical side, and we have centers of excellence for bariatric surgery. We also offer a lot of cultural and site supports, which we'll go into in a few minutes, but they include things like what we're serving in our cafeterias and our on-site fitness centers, on-site coaches, things like that. And then we do have some on-site programs too at some specific sites. We can go to the next slide. So here we have the components that really enable our strategy in a lot of different ways. So we have webcasts that include both internal and external specialists. We typically get a few thousand employees that view those, some live and some on demand with recordings as we're doing here today. We really work to include spouse or families where we can. We've seen great success with some of our employees when they do programs with their spouse. You know, as you know, you're rarely doing something alone, and the support of your community, be it family, friends, or others participating in a program, is really important. And so we work to offer that where possible. We have a physical activity challenge, a major one each year, called Going on the Move, and it's really become the foundation of our well-being programs and a big part of our culture. So we are, actually, we kicked that off on June 11th, so we're registering right now. But we've gotten up to 99,000 employees enrolled. It varies a little bit each year, but like I said, really popular everywhere. Let's see, early champions, we have found that to be really successful when we're introducing new programs, is those employee success stories that we get to hear that give us so much drive, I think, for what we do. But we like to share those through our internet or other means. And we found that that's really, really encouraging for other employees. Our CEO is a huge cyclist. And so he is on board supporting our well-being program, supporting life balance, and making sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can be your best both at home and work. And our other leaders lead different activities and walks all around the world, especially during Going on the Move, and then some throughout the year. Behavioral health access is more and more important, and I think more and more talked about, as we're all seeing. So we have resources from resilience, so trying to keep yourself healthy, to clinical, both, of course, access to therapists and psychologists, our EAP program, and many on-site resources for that too. Let's see, so healthy eating, we have specific criteria and we identify our food. It's a little bit stricter than most of our suppliers' standard criteria. So we have specific standards, and we will mark items with a green well-being sticker if they meet our healthy eating criteria. So we do these things in order to help enable our employees, when they're working with one of these programs, to give them an environment that helps them have opportunity to be successful. Now, we're still challenged when we walk into the cafeteria. There is, even though there's healthy food, there is still French fries. But we're seeing more and more of our employees make great choices. And actually, one thing we just added to that, enabling this year, is we call it Wellness Wednesdays, and we offer $2 off of the healthy meal of the day. And you wouldn't think that would make that dramatic of a difference, but it has doubled sales in some sites. And our cafeterias are selling out of that meal, and our team has seen people change lines when they see that it's the subsidized meal day. So so that's something that's gone really well as part of this, and encouraging healthy eating and diabetes prevention. Okay, next slide. So we introduced OMADA in 2016, and it is an online weight management and health risk reduction program. At the start, it had really strict criteria, and if you were already a diagnosed diabetic, you were not eligible for the program. That has since changed, which we are really, really thrilled about. And with that, they have some special parts of the program if you are already diagnosed as a diabetic, and special employees working in those groups that have additional training. The program guides participants into making long-lasting lifestyle changes through a good combination of using technology through an app or the website, a live human coach, weekly lessons, and some group social support. It's a 16-week program during the, I would say, more intensive phase, and then an additional 8 months where engagement with the coach and the social group and the lessons continue. But the lessons are a lot shorter, and the coach interaction spaces out a bit, so employees can kind of go at it at their own pace. Participants do tracking, as we've seen a lot of success in that in various programs, both food and activity. And not everyone is eligible, so this was a first for us. We are typically launch programs where everyone can join, and we want to encourage everybody to either stay healthy or work on their health. And so this was new for us because in order to be eligible, your BMI needed to be at a certain point and or a risk factor. So that we worked with them actually to open up the eligibility a little bit, and now I think that that's more standard, but we wanted to make sure that we offer this to employees who might be on a trajectory to obesity, but might not be clinically there yet. And so they were great in working with us on that. We used many different channels to communicate: intranet, portal, e-posters, newsletter, probably a lot of the same things you all do, hitting every point that we can. And we did offer an incentive along with this program also from the beginning. On the next slide. So instead of just showing the most recent results, I wanted to go back a few years because we've seen some definite shifts over the past 3 years. Overall, we're really happy with the results our employees have received. And let's see, so if you look at 2016 as the year that we launched, and we definitely had a pent-up demand. You can see we had almost 6,000 employees enroll that year. And those are employees who actually signed up. So they went through a screening, they met the criteria, and they took that next step to sign up for the program. And there's several questions that are asked to make sure people are at the right point to commit to the program, to assess their readiness for change before being accepted. And then we were able to show completion, how many people passed week 16 and how many lessons were completed. The reason that's important is that we see a correlation between the number of lessons that individuals complete and their results. If you see, and then the dark blue is 2017. So you see we dropped from year 1 to year 2 from 6,000 employees to 1,500. And that was a pretty significant drop. We knew we would have less because we had such a pent-up demand for the opportunity. We didn't necessarily expect it to drop that low. But when we get to 2018, we'll show you why we're pleased again. So the next slide shows some outcomes from 2017. This was our best year. So we saw at week 16 an average of 4.1% weight loss, and at 26, 4.2. The really great thing with the technology used in programs these days is the ability to see aggregate results that you know are verified, and also get longer term information. So of course we don't know any individual results, but Omada provides us these aggregate reports. And so at 52 weeks, we're able to see that our employees still maintained a 3.5% weight loss overall. So you can see some didn't lose. You see some in the less than 0% weight loss, but then some lost more than 10% of their weight. So we're really proud of our employees for what they've accomplished. And for the first time ever, we're actually able to see out past 12 weeks, which was before what we were able to track with some of the programs we had in place at sites. The one pilot we did with a different coaching program, the weight loss was less than 1%. I think that was 8 weeks though. It was a little less, but still we never knew what the maintenance was like and recidivism. And we also have never seen results this great. So we're really pleased here. Then if we go to 2018, as I said, we started at 6K, dropped to 1,500, and then last year we saw enrollment back up to 4,200. So we're really pleased. No problem. So we're really pleased with that. We did launch a new incentive program with points in 2018. Yep, that is last year, sorry. And so we do think that that helps get more exposure to the program again. What we found is even though we think we're over communicating, there's just so much that's hitting people these days that they forget we have a program. They think it was just for a year. They never saw it because it might not have been the right time for them. So we were really happy when the exposure to the program brought more individuals in. The next slide just gives some ideas of program engagement with the platform, the coaches, the lessons. And what I really want to drive home here is one of the key reasons we selected Omada. There was probably 3, but one was the ability for employees to use the parts of the program that connected with them and their style and their needs the most. So the one, I'll air quote, requirement is completing the lessons. But there's a coach. You can text them, you can talk to them on the phone, you can not interact with them. It's not really required. There's a social group discussion post you can see. Our employees traditionally are not super social online. So it just was really, we really liked the idea that people can use the program in a way that works for them. And you see we've got people weighing in over 5 times a week, which is terrific. I think that it used to be recommended once a week, but there's been some more research showing more frequent weigh-ins are helpful as you're monitoring your weight. Okay, so the next slide then shows our 2018 outcomes. So I showed you 17, which is our best year ever. We got participation back up, and we did see a small reduction in the amount of weight lost. We're working on this. We don't know if it was how we had our incentive program set up, if some people came in who wanted to gain the points but weren't 100% committed to the program. We're kind of working through that, I think, as most of us are, trying to find the way incentives do or do not work. But we still saw, you know, a good success with a good amount of our employees losing even more than 10%, a lot of them in 0 to 3%. But what's interesting is we saw less recidivism of the weight lost. So at 52 weeks, they were still at 3.12%, even though, you know, it was 3.05 and 3.13 as we went through the 16 and 26 weeks. So the good news here is that the weight that this group lost in 2018 has stayed off. Okay, lastly, real quick, I have 2 last slides here. I just wanted to take a minute to share some on our on-site programs and what we've learned. So we had some best-in-class hospital programs that we brought onto our sites. We learned that we were a little bit ahead of the market on this. So the hospitals that were best in class for weight loss programs were very skilled at doing these at their location, and it did take a lot of manpower to work with them to get the program ready to bring on site. But the hospitals that we worked with were excellent partners. We developed key program components, very comparable to the diabetes prevention program. We had good program results in 12 weeks. There was consistent 3 to 4% weight loss. Employees loved it. The costs varied dramatically according to geography. So the Southeast was a deal and Southern California was not. So I think that's just something interesting if you have multiple locations. And it was tough to sustain long-term unless you're at a really large facility or location. So in some sites, we've put programs on break for a year and then brought them back kind of to build up demand again. And then lastly, just learnings in the future. We found that different programs work for different people. So we like to consider a number of different resources. Family involvement provides a lot of support and can help improve outcomes. And that there's initial excitement and to just expect a year-over-year drop. And that skin in the game for supplier is key. So our suppliers are partnered with us for success and have put some agreements in or do their pricing even up front according to engagement and outcomes. So that's a really important shift that I think we're seeing, and probably a lot of you are also, is moving to not per participant, because it doesn't guarantee any success, but more pricing getting connected to actual engagement, so how employees are using the program, and then the outcomes. So are they really losing weight? And that has been a really great way for us to proceed. The market changes so fast. We're all seeing that. I think we're all inundated in a good way with different opportunities. And we're thinking some overlap may be okay. You know, we kind of bounce back and forth between the right number of suppliers and programs, and are some duplicative, and is it okay? And so that's something that we will keep our eyes on. We're thinking it might be all right in some instances. And we're also reconsidering location-specific needs. Again, we've swung to both ends on this one, from a lot of customization at locations to driving consistency across the country. And so we're back to saying, okay, some sites may need some specific arrangements. And then lastly, balancing technology and human interaction. I think we were all human interaction a few years ago, have swung to a lot of technology, and we want to make sure that we continue to provide the right balance for what works for different individuals. And that is what I have for you today. I think we're holding questions till the end. So whatever works.
I think we'll go ahead and have some questions now, Tara. Thank you very much. The first question that came to my mind was, what are your incentives, if you're willing to share that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the first year of the program, we had a $100 incentive for the program, and I believe it was 9 lessons completed. And the way that Omada does it is they introduce 1 lesson each week. So employees can't go in and do a quick read on a Sunday afternoon, but it kind of requires ongoing commitment. What we moved to last year was points-based. And so employees earn points for different milestones of the program. So they do earn some points for taking the screening, and then they earn points for different lesson completions. So I believe we're at a 5, 9, and then maybe 3 more and 3 more. So it again, it encourages employees sticking with the program. We made adjustments actually this year from last year. Last year we gave points for enrolling. And so, you know, we wonder if that's some of our big number and some of our drop off in weight loss. So we took that one out and added more longer term lesson completion milestones.
Great. I know we have a couple other questions from the chat room. Christina?
Yes, one of our participants' questions is, do the employees have to register each year?
That's a great question. So if they can continue engaged past 52 weeks, if they choose to. They also can, we have made, I think different employers structure it differently, but we have allowed employees to come back and re-engage. I forget what there's a specific term, but where they have all their equipment still, they still have their technology enabled scale, but they go back and start at week 1. And so 2 ways to do that. One is if you've stayed involved consistently and you just want to keep talking with your discussion group because you've formed some relationships and you like access to the material, you can stay involved. And if you want to rejoin, then there's a way to restart.
Great. Another question. Did Boeing cover 100% of the on-site program fees?
Oh, that's another good one. So what we did with the on-site one, because it was more costly, is we did have a small fee for employees to sign up. We broke it up into 2 or 3 payroll deductions, and then they were able to earn it back based on attendance.
Okay, 2 more questions. How can employees use those points?
There's a lot of background noise. I don't know if somebody's maybe on mobile or something, but not on mute. There we go.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I was having trouble hearing.
How can employees use those points, reduction in health premiums?
So our program, those points are redeemable for gift cards or physical gifts through our digital provider. The only connection we have for health premiums is a health assessment.
Okay, great. Another question. Do you cover weight loss medications?
We do. I cannot give a rundown of the exact ones that we cover, but we do cover some weight loss medication.
Okay. And let's see. those are all the questions we currently have.
Great.
Oh.
Tara, thank you very much. We're going to go
Thank you.
on now to our next group, which is brought to us by WellSpark. And Sarah and Ron, take it away.
Good morning. Thank you, Judy. This is Sarah.
And this is Ron. Happy to be here this morning.
All right, so we are here from WellSpark Health, and we will be presenting a success story all about diabetes prevention in action. And so we have targeted a hard-to-reach population, which is a group of individuals that drive trucks, pave our roads, and plow our roads. So this is our case study on diabetes prevention. Next slide.
So the real genesis of this program came out of care and concern for our members that Sarah described, the work that they do, but the work that they do actually contributes to illness in some cases. And they suffer from sleep deficit, poor eating habits, and very limited access to food choices during some of the operations. And as their union president, I saw in many cases familiar faces that had to be separated from service due to a diabetes diagnosis and that subsequent loss of a commercial driver's license. And in dealing with those situations, I had often thought, why couldn't we take a proactive approach with early intervention so it didn't get to this point? And I also participated in a healthcare cost containment committee that oversaw the state health plan. And many times at that table, we had discussions about preventative programs to improve health outcomes and reduce costs for the plan. And when our discussions turned to diabetes prevention, the light just went on over my head, and I knew this was our opportunity for early intervention. And so a collaboration of a labor management committee of 15 people, along with our state benefits division, the department administrators, was no easy task, but it would really prove to be worth the effort. A diabetes prevention pilot program with commercial drivers that maintain the highways was a perfect fit. And we knew the population presented many challenges for the participants and the clinical staff that would coach the group. But if we could build success with this group, we would have a template to achieve good outcomes with any population. Next slide, please.
All right. So as Ron said, we knew that there were going to be some challenges with the culture that we had to face, both from our participants as well as some challenges that the coaches would have to overcome in order to make sure that we fully blended into that culture. So what we did with that is through a lot of Ron's help, we were able to understand those cultures and the potential challenges based on a focus group.
And you know, having been with that group for some time, I had a very good working knowledge about them and working with them. But I knew the best thing we could do was actually get them into a room, and we scheduled an afternoon where we brought in the coaching staff and a good cross-section of members to have a discussion for an afternoon. And we purposely chose some folks that we thought might be champions of the program and some that we knew would be certain contrarians. And it really proved to be a goldmine of information and a great opportunity for the coaches to begin connecting with the workers in a profound way.
One of the things that came through very loud, very early, and very clear was that in our program, we would have to account for trust between labor and management. So we knew and we heard from focus group participants that individuals might be hesitant to either participate in the program or be 100% truthful about their opportunities for fear that somehow the program would be used to target them in some way. So to combat this feeling, from both union and management, leadership was present at all informational presentations. We went on the road. We went to the actual garages where people worked out of, went into their own environment to answer questions on what prediabetes is, risk factors, how this program could help, and how coaches would be helpful in this effort. By providing a uniform message with key stakeholders, we were able to dispel trust issues.
And one particular challenge with this population of commercial drivers is that their ability to get a medical card renewed every couple of years is based on their health, and a diabetes diagnosis could actually jeopardize their livelihood. So we had to do a lot of work early on about confidentiality and get their confidence that the information that they were going to share was not going to impact their jobs. In fact, it was going to do the opposite and protect their jobs.
Yeah, and speaking about that, you know, knowing that this absolutely affected individuals' livelihood, we also heard a lot about the age of the workforce. So our public sector population, we had an average age of 49.4. We also were overwhelmingly male. And so the reasons why the age is so important is because your risk of prediabetes increases exponentially as you get older. So we knew this. So we knew that this population, especially with their age, was incredibly at risk for potentially losing their livelihood. We also found out through this focus group that while most people had a smartphone, the level of comfortability with technology, this was not a digitally savvy population. In fact, they often felt left behind by other health and well-being focused programs that were very digitally savvy. So we had to make sure that we brought this in a very on-site way and learned those lessons so that this population would uptake this program.
And that really goes back to the focus group early on. With any population, learning about them, what makes them tick, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with, and really designing a program that they can have that comfort level, and we can really build on those pieces that lead to a success.
Absolutely. Another thing that we definitely heard within the focus group also was that, a lot of these individuals worked very much in silos, whether they be of geographic or even job type in nature. We heard directly that the lives of the mechanics were different than the lives of the loaders, and all of them were different than the lives of the drivers. So we had to make sure that we could leverage existing communication channels established within the general workplace, as well as creating some of our own to make sure that we did link those workers together so that they could establish that camaraderie, support, and therefore accountability. Next slide. All right. So after the focus group, we did actually go and kick off the program. So with that, we're currently running this program out of 11 employer sites throughout the state of Connecticut. And so we worked with employer management to establish a consistent schedule for the sessions, keeping the same day of the week and time of day. And so this allowed greater adoption into the overall culture of work and work site for those individuals. Our program, we do follow the Center for Disease Control National Diabetes Prevention Program standards, and we do leverage the Prevent T2 Diabetes Prevention Program curriculum. And so that really focuses on distinctive behaviors and looks to increase the knowledge of participants as it relates to their own lifestyle behaviors and how they relate to their prediabetes risk. We really started with an emphasis on know your numbers and health literacy, assuring that everyone, all of our participants, knew the importance of a basic biometric lab panel, the results, and what it meant for their health.
And one key into the kickoff of the program is beforehand meeting with management, getting them to understand the nature of the work, the fact that it does contribute to illness, taking ownership, and really asking themselves the question, what can we do to send the message to the workers that we're going to invest with them in their health? And what happened was a small part of the workday was carved out to do some initial meetings where everybody would get the general information in the education piece, which would really cultivate volunteers for the program. But I think that was an important piece of it.
Absolutely. And, consistency. What we focused a lot was on consistency. So participants heard from their coaches. Coaches were there to talk with them about anything that they had in terms of their health and wellness. You can see that we talked through nutrition, physical activity, sleep, and got down into the really granular detail of individuals' lives, providing specific, personalized, and customized solutions. To date, there's 3 health coaches that support this effort, and they've done over 800 coaching sessions with participants. So we really got down to that personalized level to continue with those relationships, camaraderie, and accountability.
And one bit of feedback that I got from the members in working with the coaching staff is that they were unbelievably flexible. They had a great understanding for the type of work they did and the challenges that they faced, and they were very flexible and coached them through a lot of the challenges that they faced. And we knew this was a tough population right from the onset, and that flexibility among everybody, I think, is key.
Absolutely. The coaches knew that we had to essentially blend ourselves into the culture of our population. We could not bring an outside culture and force that on. So just as Ron said about the flexibility, coaches also very much focused on trust. We knew and we heard it from the focus group, so we made sure that we followed through on any promise that we did. We maintained confidentiality. Next slide. All right, so let's take a look at our results to date. So far, our program has been successful at both reaching a difficult population as well as producing sustained results. So with the CDC program, it does require you to maintain a certain percentage of your population as eligible based on a blood test. They define that as 35%. You can see on this slide, we have just about 58% of our population that has been identified eligible based on the results of a blood test. We also track a couple of key metrics per following the CDC program. First is the average weight loss across participants. You can see that overall to date, we have just over 1,200 pounds have been lost by less than 100 program participants. And this represents a 5% average weight loss across all participants. We also maintain our attendance metrics. So at the time of our last CDC data submission, we had 97% of our population who had met the attendance requirements, well over the threshold set by the CDC, and to the point where at the time of our last data submission, they actually asked us to outline some of our best practices because we had such great attendance maintenance with our program. We had some additional successes as well where we've seen carryover effects into both improvement in blood pressure and cholesterol as well.
The data speaks for itself, but I can tell you that many members who I know participated in the program, I would see them and say to them, boy, you look really great, and you know the weight loss was apparent, and just the smile on their face and the sense of accomplishment on those workers says a lot more than the data, I think.
Next slide. And to continue further into some results, while not a metric measured for CDC certification, the understanding of hemoglobin A1C results and the potential improvements is another valuable metric that we're assessing in our program. So a hemoglobin A1C test is a blood test that shows the average of the past 3 months of your blood sugar. And so we put the ranges up on the slide for both a normal and a pre-diabetes range. So our participants had access to receive a hemoglobin A1C test as part of a scheduled session during the first few weeks of the program. Both coaches and nurses were there to help individuals understand how that result, what it meant for their overall health. Participants are also provided an opportunity to have that hemoglobin A1C retested as part of a final session. And so you can see that 82% of our population has had at least 2 A1C tests. And you can see that A1Cs are going down. And why this is so important is because you can see that if an A1C lowers by 0.3% or greater, that has definite protective value on their overall health and wellness. Next slide. So here's what makes our program different. We take the time to not only build trust, but more importantly, rapport with participants. We care not only about their progress in the program, but their overall happiness as well. So how do we build such intense trust? We ask the right questions at the right time to get to the root problems. And so one of the things that really has allowed us to do this is by using our behavioral diagnostic modules. And these leverage questions that have been scientifically proven to assess social determinants of health and help our health coaches equip participants with resources and solutions for life. These modules, they really act as a lightning rod to uncover challenges that people face in their lives. Sometimes they're not even aware that they are challenges.
And, you know, looking at the success, the coaches started to create events for our members, the participants of the program, hikes where they could hike together, and they actually had them start to participate in some 5K races. One in particular on December 2nd of 2018, 38 degrees, pouring rain. We had a good turnout of people that you would never expect at a 5K. And we have a member, I call him Larry the Mechanic, you know, typical flannel shirt, jeans, boots, beer and burger mechanic is how I would describe him. And to see him enter in this 5K, you know, carrying his umbrella with the flannel and the jeans and the boots, just like he would be at work, and walk that complete course, that 5K, and we all kind of cheered him at the end of the finish line. It really was, it was transformational for me. It was inspiring to me just to see this guy who would never even think about his health or participate in a 5K have that sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. It was amazing.
And what's even better is at the next 5K that we offered, Larry the Mechanic brought his wife and his dog. So it really showed that not only were we influencing the participant, but we absolutely were affecting the family unit. And those of us know that, you know, people don't live in a silo. So it's all about influencing their total environment. We even had, you know, through the use of our coaching and all the tools available to them, we even got into some of the conversations that are quite difficult to have, those about depression, anxiety, and mental health. Our use of these behavioral diagnostic modules, we specifically waited until we made sure that we had a rapport established until we started asking those questions. It actually, when we started to deploy these modules, it fell in line with fall daylight savings time. So we had very candid conversations about how people were struggling with seasonal affective disorder, how people were struggling leading up into the holidays, sharing things that they had not shared with anyone else in their life before, but because of this program, they felt that they were able to fully share them. And to date, we've actually made quite a number of referrals over to various behavioral health and EAP programs.
And to hear members talk about their family members, wives, kids, husbands, being involved in identifying healthy food, preparing it at home, this is not just transformational for individuals, but this affects health outcomes for generations when the type of participation from the families.
Next slide. So again, just a high level, you know, overview of the results that we've had to date. You know, you can see that, you know, we have our next CDC submission is actually coming up. So to date, we've had an over 5% average weight loss. You can see that A1C was lowered by over 0.5%, by over half the participants, with results still coming in. We actually have some final sessions next week that we have to go out and do our final A1C tests. To date, over 1,200 pounds and counting have been lost, and over 85% of those who started the program will be on track to finish it. We've learned such valuable lessons by implementing this on-site program. We lovingly refer it to boots on the ground, and we've actually transitioned those lessons learned into our digital application. So we actually filed for a fully digital program with the CDC back at the end of April. This is a solution that's both platform as well as mobile app supported. And it brings our diabetes prevention program solutions forward to cover all available modalities. We really have worked hard to make sure that the lessons we've learned and the customizations that we've done for our on-site programs translate over into that digital space to keep that camaraderie, accountability, motivation, and results coming in at a high level.
And I'll go back to the very first bullet, that assessment of the workforce. I think that's the foundation of the program. Just like building a building, if the foundation isn't built correctly, it affects the rest of the program. And all populations are going to be different, and the things you learn early on to really tailor and design your program to build success within that population is the most important piece to me.
Next slide, please. So yeah, so here are some of the key items that we really found imperative when considering and choosing a health intervention program. You know, like Ron said, be honest with the assessment of that workforce. You know, potentially where is work actually contributing to an employee's poor health? Is the work that they do actually making them sick? And employers take ownership of the problem and the solution. Really make sure that you ask the tough questions, you know, potentially to your employees, and listen to the responses that they have. Make sure that you have a program that's going to match you, one that provides education to improve health literacy, and definitely one that considers an employee's social determinants of health.
And I would just add that successful participants are your best recruiters for the program.
Absolutely. All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I think we do have some questions.
Yes, we have a few questions.
We have a few questions. First question, were all coaching sessions F2F or a combination of F2F and virtual phone?
Probably face-to-face.
Yeah, so I think the question was about the coaching sessions, and all of our coaching sessions in our program was completely on site. It was done face-to-face with the majority of information delivered face-to-face. We did also leverage telephonic for some coaching sessions, as well as some makeup opportunities. Like Ron said, we heard from the focus group early on that our program would need to be flexible due to the nature of the work and, frankly, the unplanned nature of weather, you know, in the country. So we did actually leverage makeup opportunities via telephone for individuals when they were out, you know, doing work for the state. So majority was face-to-face, but we did leverage the modality of telephone.
Great. Next question. What are some of your best practices regarding retention? And are you able to share your behavioral diagnostic module?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll answer those in two parts. I'll take the first part related to the behavioral diagnostic modules. That would be something that we absolutely could discuss in a separate session. So if there's a lot of interest there, we would, Judy will talk to you about potentially scheduling that in the future.
And the second part of the question, I really think the key is the confidence level and the members really looking to the coaches and opening up, sharing, being honest about what their challenges were, and the coaches being able to walk them through it. I think that confidence is everything. And when other people talk to them about the program and they can relieve their fears that things are confidential, that our coaches listen to us, if we, you know, hit a bump in the road, they're with us to get us through it. I think that's key.
Absolutely. I would echo that, Ron. It's really the trust. You know, we had a quote which came directly from one of our participants, you know, a couple of months into the program, which you really do care about us. And so it's a lot of that human-to-human connection and really caring about the participant, not just, you know, how's the program doing, but how are the individual participants who make up the program doing? That's really been the special sauce, if you will, for our retention.
And following that question, are the behavior diagnostic modules proprietary to WellSpark or outsourced from another agency?
They are proprietary to WellSpark. We do work in conjunction with another agency.
And those are all the questions at the moment.
One question from me, Judy Hearn, is were there incentives that the workers received or had in order to participate in the program?
Well,
you know that,
thanks for that question, Judy. one incentive is with this population, that ability to get a commercial driver's license really impacting their ability to be employed. So the reward for them is if they were pre-diabetic or on the road to potential loss of job and license, huge incentive was, I want to continue to be able to work.
Did they have to pay to be part of the program?
Hi, Judy. This is Sarah. No, they did not have to pay at all. This was fully an employer-sponsored program, and it was completely voluntary, so nobody had to participate. Midstream in our program, there was an employee-sponsored incentive that was leveraged. It is a completion incentive, and individuals have to attend all 26 sessions of the program in order to qualify.
So the state agency that they work for was a great partner in this. The conversations we had early on really helped in that respect. And then the other piece of it was the state health plan sponsored the program as well. So it was a combination of the state health plan and the individual agency that the workers work for.
And the reason for that is because 20% of the claims were traced back to the pharmaceutical spend and specifically diabetes.
And this was really a continuation of some wellness plans, wellness programs that we started in really reshaping the state health plan in Connecticut back in 2011.
Can you tell me, it sounds like all these sessions occurred on property. Were the employees paid for that time that they were participating in these sessions, or did they have to come off the clock?
It was a combination of the two. In the conversations we had with the agency early on, they agreed that a small investment on their part was worthwhile. So what they did, we talked about the most non-productive part of the workday typically is the very beginning, very end. So we carved out some small 15-minute segments before the shift, or at the beginning of the shift and towards the end of the shift. So it would be partially on the shift and partially off.
But Judy, we were actually on site. We were, in between, 9-ton trucks sometimes when delivering these sections. So we actually brought them directly to those 11 garage sites.
Great. Oh, we do have some additional questions.
Yes. Another question. What was the cost to the employer per person?
So what did the state of Connecticut or the agency have to pay, if you're able or willing to share that?
This is Bert. I'm part of the leadership of WellSpark. I would say the employer paid a flat amount. I think we're probably not at liberty to say what that is, but it really was not a per participant charge. We wanted as many people as possible to come into these classes, but it was a flat rate for the programs for the entire year. And so we literally just built up kind of a cost of goods sold model, and we're able to demonstrate that had a good return for the employer as they looked at the cost of that program versus the actual cost of claims and pharmacy costs associated with diabetes. So flat rate, get as many participants in the class as possible.
Great, thank you for that additional insight, Bert. I think we have another one.
Yes, another question. Does WellSpark solely work with public employees?
Again, this is Bert. No, we work with anyone. We're really, right now, our clients are mostly public sector. The City of New York employees is a client, certainly other states and towns throughout the Northeast, but we also have colleges, we also have commercial employers on our roster of clients. So anytime an employer feels that this program is right for them, if they have hard to reach populations in particular, we have a knack for really trying to drive good participation with that. But it's commercial employers, colleges, universities. We also are outside of the Northeast as well. So we're a national company, and can meet any employer where they are with what they're trying to solve.
Another question has come up. Outside of state funding, do you think the cost model for this program is sustainable?
Yes, I do. I think that, you know, any employer, again, who wants to invest in this program because preventing diabetes is so much more cost effective than incurring the cost of the medical spend. Yeah, I do think it's sustainable. And, you know, I would put the cost of this program up against any of my competitors. I think it's very competitively priced. Again, you have to qualify for the program. So it's really, if you think about the CDC, and your A1C has to be within a certain range, and your body mass has to be within a certain range. So I do think that the cost of the program is sustainable. We're also, though, think about what these folks said earlier, we're moving from an on-site model to a digital model. And so I certainly think an ability to scale our business to meet more people's needs through a digital program is going to help drive the cost of the program down and therefore make it more sustainable.
I'm going to make just a comment here for those who are not as familiar with the diabetes prevention program and the CDC, the T2 model. You can go to the CDC and look and see what their modules are and what is promoted and talked about, and that's what companies like WellSpark and other competitors in this space are doing. And they focus on nutrition and exercise because lowering your weight and moving more definitely has been shown to either delay the onset of type 2 diabetes or in some cases just wipe it away, depending on how that individual can work. So it's very exciting. People don't have to feel like they're on a path that they can't get off of. And so that's one of the reasons we're doing these webinars, and we'll be talking about this again in Carterville, Illinois on June 25th. But I understand from Christina, we have a couple more questions, and because we have a little more time before we end at 10:30, let's go ahead.
Another question, were there any changes to healthcare costs or pharmacy costs as a result of the program?
I think right now we're waiting for this to play out in medical costs. So as Sarah said, we're just coming up on our 1-year mark, and we will be with our client tracking this particular cohort over time to see if this cohort behaves better than other similar cohorts within the employer group. So we're still letting this play out. And again, this is diabetes prevention. So we know what they were spending before, certainly on diabetes related medical claims and pharmacy claims. And so we'll be tracking this and studying it over time. It's a little too early to say at this point.
Ron, are there any plans to expand the program to different departments or agencies?
My understanding is there are some discussions ongoing to expand it. I know there is great interest. Our membership in particular was not just commercial drivers, it was about 4,000 state workers, and we had meetings of members from all agencies who would say, are you going to bring this to our agency? So there is certainly a need, there's a desire for more participants, and I believe there's discussions ongoing about how to use the success of this pilot and roll it out and bring it to other populations.
I also wanted to comment that I think it's significant that in an environment where there are unions, that you were able to come together with the agency, the state, and bring something to the employee population that made such a difference in their lives. And not all of the employers who are on the phone may have unions, but I'm sure for those who do, this is exciting information.
Well, and you know, thanks for that, Judy. And I just want to say our model in Connecticut has always been, you know, there's things we have to kind of argue about, but it's been one of collaboration, and the healthcare cost containment has always been a labor management committee. You know, and as far as pulling in workers, it's their livelihood, so they couldn't have a more central interest than their livelihood. But you know, things work the best when labor and management collaborate, and I think this is a great example of it.
Absolutely. Christina, another question.
If I'm seeing one last question, were all of these individual sessions or were any of these group sessions?
Yeah, so this is Sarah. So our sessions were group sessions when we were on site delivering the educational content. We also did group sessions for some of the telephonic makeups. Individuals did have the opportunity to work one-to-one with their coaches when soliciting health coaching, but we also provided some, you know, different modalities. We also facilitated some group coaching over the phone, some group coaching face-to-face. So really our coaches went out, and whatever format participants were willing to uptake, we remained flexible that we delivered in that format.
Excellent. I'm going to leave just another minute or so in case anyone has additional questions. You can contact me directly, Judy Hearn, through either my phone number or mbgh.org, and I would be more than happy to talk with you about opportunities to offer the diabetes prevention program to your employees on site or at your organization. One of the opportunities through the funding that we've received is to create awareness with employers and other stakeholders. So I know a lot of people that are on the phone may not have a group of employees that they are taking care of, but they may be nurses or wellness folks in hospitals and other types of medical settings and working for different agencies throughout the state of Illinois. We have an opportunity to provide some funding for employers if they are interested in having someone from their own organization to be trained as a diabetes lifestyle coach. And they're both in-person sessions that are available. I know we've got some scheduled in June in Southern Illinois. If that's of interest, I'd be happy to give more information on anyone that's interested. And there are also some online programs that I actually went through it myself so that I could understand exactly what the participants go through and how robust each of those modules are. So one last check. Doesn't seem like we have any questions. I appreciate everyone's participation today, and I will be sending out an evaluation following the program probably within the next week. We will also include with that evaluation link copies of the slides and a copy so that you can access the recording. And we do that for anyone who has registered for the program. So if you know of someone who wasn't able to dial in, we will be sending them that information so they can hear it at another time. So again, thank you very much for your participation. We look forward to spreading the word about how to prevent diabetes and manage it. Thank you very much.